So for those of you unaware, GameStop has recently announced that they are converting certain locations into GameStop Retro locations, where they are going to be selling certain retro games. And in my opinion, this is a long time coming. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they haven't done this sooner. I mean, retro games have been a pretty hot commodity for a while now. There is quite the market for them online and, at secondhand stores. And not only has it been very difficult to find a lot of retro games at GameStop, but just increasingly so. I remember a couple years ago when all the GameStops in my area for a period stopped selling even like Xbox 360 and PS3 games, anything older than PS4, Xbox One, which was very disappointing to see, and I thought was a very interesting and honestly poor business decision. Up till this point, the only way you could buy retro games from GameStop was through the GameStop website, which sucks ass. Honestly, shopping for anything online through GameStop sucks because you have no idea what condition it's going to come to you, what it's going to include, whether it's going to be disc only or a complete in box or some mortifying in between. And that is really not what you want for retro games, which, above all others, you would probably want to be able to inspect and, see the condition of and, make sure they work before you buy them. But regardless, it was kind of cool to hear that they were actually selling retro games at brick and mortar GameStop stores. And one of the GameStop Retro locations happens to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, about 15 minutes from where I live. So, I decided to stop by. Now, if Raleigh is like other GameStop Retro locations, then GameStop Retro consists of a small section of shelves upon which they have shoved, again, pretty much anything older than PS4 or Xbox One, which seems pretty consistent with the branding and ads for GameStop Retro. I mean, I see Xbox 360 and DS and stuff like that included on those ads, but it's kind of disappointing because a lot of the shelf was taken up by Xbox 360, Wii U, PS3 games, which you can find in any old GameStop, and which I personally would not quite consider to be retro games yet. The Raleigh location did have a few of what I would consider quote-unquote retro titles, original Xbox, quite a few disc-only PS2 games, kind of, the late retro era in my opinion. And the oldest game they had was Legend of Dragoon for the original PlayStation, which was, mildly disappointing. I wasn't expecting N64 or SNES or Genesis cartridges, but, it would have been cool. They're advertising up to NES, so, it's not completely out of the question. Aside from that shelf, though, it is pretty much just a totally normal GameStop. It is completely indistinguishable from any other GameStop, both outside and in. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Switch, toys, consoles, accessories, anime stuff, Funko Pops, all of them pretty much where you would expect them to be. So yeah, not like a complete store rebranding or anything like that. Now, personally, I'm very interested in collecting for the GameCube right now, so I did buy their copy of Resident Evil 4. I paid $30 for it. It was game and case only, which is not a great deal, but not terrible either. I'd say it's slightly overpriced, which is about what I would expect from GameStop at this point. It's in line with pretty much everything else they sell. And what I did get was admittedly in pretty solid condition. There was a minor scuff on the case underneath one of the stickers, but overall the case was in solid condition. The discs were in very good condition. I didn't see any scratches. I assume they've been resurfaced. So, all in all, not a bad purchase. I was fairly happy with it. It was really cool, honestly, to be able to purchase a GameCube game from GameStop. It's a completely unique experience to me. honestly would be a bit more exciting if it wasn't the lesser of the two cops I made that day, but that is neither here nor there. Generally, I'd say my overall impressions of it are meh. I mean, I'll admit I liked what I got, and what I got was in pretty solid condition, and overall, it pretty much met my expectations for GameStop selling retro games. But my expectations were also pretty low. I don't know, just like initially upon hearing the news, I was kind of the mindset that it would have been better if they just distributed retro games to every GameStop store out there. I mean, they sort of advertise each GameStop Retro location as if it's getting a full store remodel. You know, that's kind of what I initially bought into, and I did realize before I went that it probably would not be the case, that the stores probably would not be getting a full rebranding and just completely, clearing out their old inventory so that they can just sell retro games. And now, having gone, I'm not sure why I ever would have expected that from GameStop in the first place, because they barely have enough to supply even just a handful of stores in each state with enough games for a small section of retro titles. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe this is just like the Peach Fuzz era of GameStop Retro. Maybe they'll expand significantly in the future so that each store does get a full rebranding, and they do have, a significantly larger selection of GameStop, retro titles in each quote unquote GameStop Retro location. But I kind of doubt it. At least in this phase of GameStop Retro, it's not really a true retro game store. Don't let them fool you into thinking otherwise. Don't fool yourself into thinking otherwise. Don't compare them to true used game stores, retro game stores. I mean, if you've been to a proper used game store, there's no comparison between that and GameStop. I do think it's cool that they're doing this. I think it makes sense that they're doing this. And for the people who don't have a retro game store in their immediate area, this could potentially remedy that to a very slight degree. At least it's something, and something is better than nothing. But keep your expectations pretty low. In conclusion, if there's a GameStop Retro in your area and it's not too out of the way, awesome, cool. Hope you have a great time. If not, you're probably not missing much. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. So, is there a GameStop Retro in your immediate vicinity? Have you been? Anything cool? Anything interesting? Made any purchases? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd be very interested to hear what you guys have to say and are thinking about this whole situation. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Greatly appreciated. And y'all have a good one.